There is nothing that can come in life to bring contentedness that you can touch, taste, feel with your hands, see with your eyes, be around. You've never heard, or I've never heard anyone say, contentedness for me came when I got all that I wanted and more, and it had nothing to do with the spiritual realm. Agree or disagree?
Disagree.
You disagree. What, it didn't come from the spiritual realm?
Oh, wait, no, it did.
Exactly, right? When it's okay, you're allowed to disagree. I asked, I opened it up for it, right? When you look at this concept of contentedness, right, it always comes hand in hand with something that revolves around the spiritual realm, a spiritual awakening, a spiritual experience. And the thought behind that is why? Why can't it be more of something? Right? I've always thought, if I just have more of this, then I'll be content. Make sense? I have one, I probably don't even have one. That's a badge. I don't want that. I have one. I have one of these. Have you ever seen this? It's made of cotton and ink and metal and tears and blood and sweat, whatever. There's probably some other things on there. Don't drug test these. Right? I used to think, man, if I just had more and more and more and more and more of these, then I would be content. And then I would get what? More and more and more and more and more. And what happens? Dadgone, I'm not content. Well, I know what it was. My concept of more wasn't big enough. I need a bigger concept of more. So I need a room full of these. And then what happens? I fill the room and I'm like, still not quite there. I know what I need. I need 2 rooms. And then I get 2. And then I need a house. And then it's just not enough. Been there, done that? When you start to look at the concept of contentedness, you see maybe more is not so bad. Maybe it's just instead of more of this, maybe it's more than this. What do you guys think? Instead of focusing on more of this, maybe it's more than this, which comes with a spiritual awakening. Anybody been there, done that? Experienced that? When you start to look, I can't quote it because I'll give you some, ridiculous statistic that's not even true. So I have to trust Siri. In 2016, 66% of people said that their spiritual views, their spiritual perception, their spiritual values guided them through life. In 2017, that number grew almost 10%. It's continuing to grow, that people are not being driven as much, still being driven, I'm still being driven sometimes, by what they see around them, by getting more and more and more and more, but they're saying, you know what, maybe it's more than this. Maybe more time at the gym isn't really what's going to make it better. Maybe more friends or more likes or more posts or more cars or more degrees or accomplishments isn't going to really bring me contentedness. Maybe it's more than this. Maybe it's a handful of friends that I build relationships with, but I spend more time with them rather than more time trying to find more people. You guys see what I'm saying? Our culture is changing. Our culture is changing. More millennials this year than the last couple of years, and the M word, right, have been seeking spirituality more than religion, more than groups, more than clubs, because they're starting to understand that there's something more than just what you can touch, what you can taste, what you can chase. Right? Has anyone seen the similarity in the 12 steps? What is addiction? What's the root of addiction? Anybody know? Self-centeredness, and it manifests itself through what? Connection or disconnection? Disconnection. In order to get more of something, I am willing to do what? Disconnect. In order to disconnect, I need what? More of something. What is the opposite of addiction? Connection. Connection. Connection, connection, connection. Maybe there's something more than what I've been chasing. Maybe there's something more than my past. Maybe there's something more than my pain. Maybe there's something more than my problems. Maybe it's bigger. Today, my car broke down on the way to work. It's a lot of fun. Breaking down on the side of the road, everybody's looking at you like, he can't afford to have a car that runs. Right? My focus, if it's all about more, what do I want more of in that moment? more money to fix my car or more money to get a better car. Do you see what I'm saying? More money to actually afford to have a tow. Right? So in that moment, I'm focusing on the fact that my car is broken down, not running, I'm not at work, on time, not doing what I want to do. My agenda, my time frame, my pride, everything is being what? Chiseled away at. A materialistic view of that would say there's nothing more than this right now. Nothing else matters, nothing else exists. It's just me, my pain, my problem, and the past of buying this car. But a spiritual perspective takes a step back and says, yes, this happened. Your car is totally busted, man. You need to accept that. Somebody said acceptance earlier. I don't remember. Yes, ma'am. Right? Yes, I need to accept this. However, is there something more? I don't know yet. Let's find out. Who comes to my rescue? My main man, Sergio. Right? That's more right there. All of a sudden, he and I are being able to hang out and talk. Right? Driving down 95. Right? All of a sudden, I'm able to step back and say, wow, I had a car to get me to work these last X amount of days. Is that more or less? That's more. All of a sudden, I'm able to stand up here in front of you and say, thank God that my connection to my higher power, who I call Jesus Christ, changed my perspective of a car problem being more than that. It's still pain. It's still something. But all of a sudden, I'm able to step back and say, there's more than this. It's going to work out. Either the car's going to get stolen, or I'm going to get it towed, or I'm going to get it fixed, or I'm not. And I'm going to have to walk or take the bus. But there's something more. What does that start to do? It makes me content and start to want what I have rather than what? Trying to have what I want. All of a sudden, I'm able to say, I can take a deep breath. You know what? I accept this broken car. Thank you, God, for a broken car. Thank you, God, that you can do something bigger than my broken car. Thank you, God, that I can speak to people. Y'all know how I got here, do you? You have no idea how I got here. Losing things. Losing things that I chased led me to stand in front of you today. Losing a lot. My perception of contentedness came from trying to get more. I'm going to give you a couple things that are pretty synonymous with a spiritual perspective, if that's okay. Is that cool? You guys have time? Yeah. Am I going anywhere? That's all right. I'm going to read it anyway. Honesty, what do you think? Materialistic perspective or spiritual? Let's go with spiritual. Why not? Does everyone know what I mean by materialistic?
Like money, cars.
Sure. Sex, drugs, rock and roll, you know.
Yeah.
All right. So honesty sounds spiritual, right? When you think of anyone in your life that has had a spiritual awakening, probably pretty honest, as much as they can be. Yeah, everybody makes mistakes. Listening, a listener. Do you think a spiritual person is a listener? Yes. I would say so. What about a giver, a generous person? Cool. What about someone who loves? What about someone who is grateful? And what about someone who is present and has the strength to accept? Do these sound like things you want in your life? Are these things that you maybe want more of? Is that okay? Absolutely. But my question is, what are you willing to trade in order to get that? Are you willing to trade a couple bucks? Are you willing to trade a couple rides in a van, or maybe rides in the bus, or maybe an EBT card, or maybe not being exactly where you want to be all the time? What are you willing to trade and to give in order to get something more? That's a spiritual perspective. And my bet is the fact that you guys are all sitting in this room right now is proof that you are willing to pay more now than you used to be willing to pay. That you are being willing to pay more than what you used to be willing to pay. Because something's changing inside of you. All of a sudden, you're saying, you know what? I want to develop relationships even though they're difficult. Even though there's problems, I want to bust through those problems. I was at a spearfishing expo a couple days ago. This guy, he makes like $15,000, $25,000 a spearfishing trip to shoot fish with metal sticks. Right? He said, you know what we remember when we come back from our trips? You know what we talk about all the time? He says, we talk about when we broke down, when something got stolen, when someone got sick, when someone got hurt, when there was a problem, because guess what happened in all those things? We got tighter, we survived it, and we had a story. We don't come back talking for years and years and years about, these giant, dog-tooth tuna. We talk about the experience that we had because it's something spiritual that goes on between us, because it's more than just what's controllable and right around us. Does that make sense? He said, that's the stuff that I talk about. That's the stuff that I'm like, yeah, man, wasn't that great? We survived that. We got robbed at gunpoint. But in the moment, what's happening? If I'm materialistic, all I'm thinking about, I'm losing this, I'm losing this, I'm losing this, I'm losing this. I don't have this. I'm feeling this. You guys tracking with me? My challenge to y'all is to enjoy the ride. Is that okay? Is that okay to say? Right? To where I can say, you know what? It's bigger than this time. It's bigger. How many of you have had pain this week? It's bigger than the pain that I've been experiencing this week. I'm willing to pay a little bit of pain to achieve something greater. My challenge to you is to enjoy the ride. To start to be content. An ancient writer says, I've learned the secret of being content. It's not easy. It's not like something you just wake up and I got some content today. It's a secret that takes work, and you have to discover it, and you have to uncover it, and you have to find it, and then you have to hold on to it. Please hold on to that. If you have reached contentedness, don't forget how you got it. If you have not, don't give up. Thank you guys for listening.